Gentlemen, let me ask you something. Do you really know what positions women love? And I'm not asking to provoke you. I'm asking because after over a decade as a urologist, I've heard the same story from thousands of men. Men who try hard, who genuinely love their partners, but still wonder why she seems distant or distracted at the very moment they should feel closest. Here's the truth most men don't realize. The positions you think work best are often working against female anatomy, not with it. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, and I've spent more than 10 years helping men over 50 restore not just their performance, but their connection. Today, I'm going to reveal the 5 positions that women truly enjoy, not because they're trendy, but because they align with how the female body actually responds. I'll also show you 2 extremely popular positions that, despite what you see in movies, cause more discomfort than pleasure. Before we dive into the positions themselves, we need to address something fundamental that most men completely miss. Men assume that what brings them pleasure, rhythm, depth, intensity, works the same way for women. But gentlemen, I'm begging you to understand this. The female body operates on an entirely different system. Female pleasure depends on 2 critical pillars working together at the same time. First, there must be steady, comfortable blood flow to the pelvic tissue. Second, and this is where most men go wrong, there must be reliable external stimulation at the front of the pelvis while internal movement is happening. That combination of flow and contact is what allows her brain to register sensation as pleasure. Without it, even with all the desire in the world, the feeling just disperses. And here's the other piece most men overlook: relaxation. When a woman feels tense, uncomfortable, or forced into an awkward angle, her nervous system shifts into protection mode. Her brain can't interpret sensation as pleasure when it's busy trying to maintain balance or avoid discomfort. But when she feels completely safe, when the angle is gentle and the contact is consistent, something remarkable happens. Her parasympathetic nervous system activates, blood flow increases naturally, muscles relax, and pleasure flows without effort. This is our foundation for everything that follows. The positions I'm about to share aren't the most dramatic or acrobatic. They're the ones that allow easy frontal contact, gentle angles, and freedom to move without tension. That's the map we're following today. Positions that respect physiology and prioritize comfort for both partners. So let's start with number 5, the side-by-side spoon position. Now, I know this might seem too simple to make the list. It's not flashy, it's not what you see in movies. But in clinical practice, this is one of the most effective positions for couples seeking comfort, connection, and sustained intimacy, especially for men over 60. Here's why it works from a medical standpoint. Lying on your side dramatically reduces the muscle effort required from both partners. It protects your joints, which becomes increasingly important as we age. And most critically, it keeps the pelvis parallel, creating a smooth, sliding internal angle. This prevents those deep, jarring thrusts that can cause discomfort and instead allows for precise pressure control. The beauty of this position is that it naturally facilitates what we just talked about: constant frontal contact. One hand remains free to provide that external stimulation while the other can embrace, caress, or simply rest. You're not working against each other's bodies, you're working with them. Here's exactly how to optimize it. Place a small pillow or even a folded towel between her knees. This simple adjustment aligns the hips and prevents any pelvic rotation that could create tension in the lower back. Now, here's the key: keep your movements short and rhythmic. I'm talking about a gentle sway, almost like rocking together. The goal isn't depth. The goal is maintaining continuous contact between the base of your pelvis and the front of hers. When that contact stays unbroken, the sensation multiplies naturally. Many couples tell me they discover that alternating between these short movements and a very gentle circular sway of the hips creates even more pleasure. There's no need to rush. In fact, rushing breaks the very contact you're trying to maintain. The secret here is staying present, breathing together, feeling the warmth and closeness without chasing anything. This position becomes especially powerful in the evening or early morning when you're both already relaxed. Your bodies are warm, your minds are calm, and the simplicity of the side-by-side angle allows you to focus entirely on sensation and connection rather than coordination or endurance. Moving to number 4, sitting face to face. This is what I call the confidence position, and it's as intimate as it is practical. One partner sits on a firm surface, the edge of the bed works perfectly, or even a stable chair, while the other settles onto their lap, facing them directly. The first thing that happens here is immediate eye contact. And that's not just romantic, it's biochemical. Direct, sustained eye contact during intimacy triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone that builds trust and emotional connection. Add to that the chest-to-chest contact, and you're literally synchronizing your breathing. This reduces muscle tension throughout both bodies and promotes steady, healthy blood flow. From an anatomical perspective, this position is brilliant because the pelvis of the seated partner stays completely stable while the partner on top has full control over rhythm, angle, and depth. That stability transforms what could be thrusting into a rocking motion that maintains constant pressure exactly where most women feel the greatest pleasure, right at the front of the pelvis. Here's how to think about the movement: rolling and pressing, not pushing and pulling. Keep the base of your pelvis in full, continuous contact with hers. If you want to vary the intensity or change the angle slightly, simply tilt your torso backward or forward. That small adjustment shifts the internal angle without ever breaking the alignment or losing that critical frontal contact. Both hands are completely free here. One can help with balance, maybe resting on your shoulders or the bed behind you. The other can provide additional external stimulation, caress, or simply hold. This freedom creates a level of intimacy that's hard to achieve in positions where both partners are focused on maintaining their balance or supporting their weight. And here's something that makes this position especially valuable for men over 50. It requires almost no strength or flexibility. You're sitting, she's sitting. There's no strain on your knees, no pressure on your lower back, no need for cardiovascular endurance. You can maintain this position comfortably for as long as both of you want, and that sustained comfort directly translates into sustained pleasure. What I hear most often from couples who embrace this position is that it makes them feel young again, not because it's athletic, but because it removes all the barriers between them. No distractions, no discomfort, just two people, face to face, breathing together, moving together, completely present with each other. Now the position 3 is a classic, rediscovered, face to face, lying down. Some of you might think this is too traditional to deserve a spot on this list, but hear me out. When this position is done with attention and anatomical knowledge, it becomes one of the most profound connections you can experience, both emotionally and physically. Here's what happens on a neurological level when you're body to body, breathing in the same rhythm. You start reading micro-expressions on each other's faces, a slight widening of the eyes, a softening of the mouth, a quickening of breath. In sexual medicine, we call this neuronal synchronization. When you can read these subtle signals of pleasure or discomfort in real time, your nervous system adapts instantly. The body responds better because the brain feels safe and understood. From a clinical perspective, the face-to-face position maintains what we call a neutral penetration angle. But here's where one small adjustment transforms everything. Place a small pillow under the hips of the receiving partner. This tilts the pelvis just enough to align the inner surface with that area of greatest sensitivity at the front. It's a tiny change, maybe 2 inches of elevation, but the result is dramatic. Now here's the most important part about movement in this position. Shorten your range of motion. I'm talking about staying almost completely inside while applying gentle, steady pressure forward at the end of each subtle thrust. This isn't about how deep you can go. It's about maintaining that constant forward contact that keeps the sensation from ever being interrupted. Most men instinctively think more movement equals more pleasure, But what I see in my practice, time and time again, is that less movement with more consistent contact creates significantly more satisfaction for her. Think about it this way. Every time you pull all the way back and thrust forward again, you're breaking the contact, you're interrupting the blood flow, you're resetting the sensation. But when you stay close, moving in short, controlled motions with continuous frontal pressure, the sensation builds without ever dropping. If you want to increase intensity without adding depth, don't use more force. Change the angle. Use a folded towel under her hips. Adjust your own position slightly forward or back. Small adjustments create big results, and they do it without any risk of discomfort. What makes this position so powerful for mature couples is everything happening beyond the physical mechanics. You're close enough to kiss, to whisper, to lock eyes and read every response. That level of nonverbal communication activates brain regions associated with both pleasure and calm. Position number 2, woman on top. Gentlemen, this might be the most underestimated position for men over 50, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. This is the position of control and confidence, but not your control, hers. When she's on top, she sets the angle, she sets the rhythm, she sets the depth, and she can adjust any of these at any moment based on exactly what her body is feeling. This doesn't just increase her pleasure, it dramatically reduces the risk of discomfort or pain, which becomes more important as both of you age. Here's what happens anatomically. In large-scale surveys of women's sexual preferences and behaviors, most women describe how they deliberately adjust the angle of their hips to keep the sensation focused exactly where they need it, right at the front of the pelvis. When she's on top, she can do this naturally, instinctively, without having to communicate it verbally or worry about coordination. Her body simply finds what works. What? Now, here's where most men misunderstand this position. They think the movement should be rapid and vertical, up and down like you see in adult films. But that's not what creates pleasure for her. What works is circular motion, or a gentle swinging, rocking movement where her pelvis stays pressed against yours. This keeps external contact constant and ensures blood flow is never interrupted. If her knees start to get tired, and they will, especially if you're taking your time, there are simple variations. She can shift her weight forward, supporting herself with her hands on your chest. She can advance one knee slightly and extend the other leg back, taking pressure off both knees. Or she can partially lean back, supported by a pillow placed strategically behind her. All of these variations maintain the same anatomical benefits while reducing muscular effort. But here's what I want you to really understand about this position. It has a powerful emotional and psychological benefit that goes far beyond the physical mechanics. When she has complete autonomy and control, when she doesn't have to worry about you going too deep or too fast, when she can move exactly as her body wants to move, something shifts. The fear of discomfort disappears, and when the body feels completely free and safe, pleasure flows naturally without resistance. I've had countless patients in their 60s and 70s tell me that this single position restored intimacy in their marriage because it finally gave her the freedom to explore sensation without anxiety. And when she's relaxed, confident, and fully present, your experience transforms too. You're not performing, you're participating in something she's creating, and that shared experience is infinitely more satisfying than any technique could ever be. And now we arrive at number 1, from behind. This position generates more questions and confusion than any other, and I understand why. Done incorrectly, it can feel too intense, too impersonal, even uncomfortable. But done with proper alignment and attention, it becomes one of the most complete and satisfying positions available for both partners. Here's the truth. The difference between this position causing discomfort and creating incredible pleasure comes down to 3 things: angle, rhythm, and contact. Let me break down each one. First, the angle. This is where most men go wrong, and it's also where the simplest adjustment creates the biggest transformation. If the receiving partner brings her knees slightly closer together and rotates her hips just slightly forward, we're talking about a subtle tilt, not a major repositioning. The entire internal angle changes. Instead of pressure going straight back, which can feel too deep or even painful, the friction shifts to the inner front surface where the tissue is most sensitive and responsive. Here's the practical adjustment that makes this work. Place a firm pillow or folded towel under her hips. This raises the pelvis and automatically creates that forward tilt we're looking for. You don't have to think about it. The pillow does the work, and that small elevation, maybe 3 or 4 inches, can completely transform the sensation from too much to exactly right. Second, the rhythm. This is critical. Forget everything you think you know about this position from watching adult content. What works in real life is not hard, fast thrusting. What works is slow, sliding movements that maintain constant contact throughout. Think about it like this. You're not trying to go as deep as possible. You're trying to maintain pressure on that front inner surface we just repositioned with the pillow. Keep your movements short and controlled. Stay mostly inside, moving in smooth, gliding motions rather than pulling all the way out and driving back in. That continuous contact is what allows sensation to build progressively instead of resetting with every thrust. And third, this is the part most men completely forget. Maintain constant external contact. Keep one hand steady at the front, providing gentle but consistent stimulation exactly where the greatest concentration of nerve endings exists. This isn't optional. This is what transforms this position from purely internal to the complete stimulation that most women need to reach full satisfaction. Now, I need to address something important here, and it's something I see causing problems for couples all the time. There's a perception that this position is somehow less intimate because you're not face to face. But that's only true if you allow it to be. Communication is what creates intimacy, not position. In fact, this is where verbal connection becomes even more powerful. Ask her how it feels. Look at her. Watch for signals in her body language and breathing. If something doesn't feel right for her, you'll see it in the tension of her shoulders, hear it in a caught breath. And when something feels incredible, you'll feel her body relax and respond. That kind of attention, truly seeing and listening to your partner, that's what deepens the moment, not interrupts it. In recent clinical studies, couples who make these specific adjustments in this position, the pillow, the slow rhythm, the external contact, the communication, report significant improvements, not just in physical pleasure, but in emotional connection. They describe feeling more in sync, more trusting, more comfortable being vulnerable with each other. And that's because this position, when done with care and attention, requires you to pay attention in ways you might not have to in face-to-face positions where you can constantly see each other's expressions. This is why it's number one, not because it's inherently better than the others, but because it represents the principle underlying all of them: alignment over intensity, contact over depth, communication over assumption. Now, before we move forward, I need to address the two positions that look amazing in movies, but create real problems in actual practice. And I'm not sharing these to embarrass anyone. I'm sharing them because I hear about these specific positions causing issues in my office every single week. Mistake position number one, the standing shower position. I know why this seems appealing. It feels spontaneous, passionate, romantic. The problem is that reality and fantasy rarely align when it comes to intimate physics. Here's what actually happens. The slippery floor immediately puts both partners into a state of tension. Your muscles tighten to prevent falling, which is the opposite of what we need for pleasure. That tension restricts blood flow and makes it nearly impossible for her nervous system to relax into sensation. Then there's the water itself. It actually removes natural lubrication, making the tissue more sensitive in a bad way. This can cause irritation or even small tears that you won't feel in the moment, but will definitely notice later. And anatomically, the standing angle is almost always too vertical, creating unnatural pressure that's more uncomfortable than pleasurable. The fix is simple. If you love the idea of an intimate water environment, move out of the direct flow. Use the edge of the bathtub where both of you can brace properly. Use a shower bench if you have one. These small changes restore balance, safety, and most importantly, that frontal contact we keep talking about. The moment retains all of its spontaneity and sensuality, but now it's actually comfortable and functional instead of an exercise in not falling down. Mistake position number 2, the acrobatic position with the knees near the ears. This is extremely popular on the internet and in adult content, but it's almost always problematic in real life, especially for women over 45 and for couples prioritizing long-term joint health. Here's why it fails. This position requires extreme flexibility in the hips and lower back that most people simply don't have. When you force your body into a position it's not prepared for, you create tension in the pelvic ligaments and compression on the nerves in the lower back. That's not just uncomfortable, it can cause real pain that lasts beyond the encounter itself. And anatomically, the angle of entry is often too direct and too deep. What appears on screen as intensity translates in real bodies to pressure on sensitive areas in a way that causes discomfort, not pleasure. Women describe feeling overly exposed or experiencing a kind of vulnerability that doesn't feel safe or enjoyable. The fix: if you want a similar feeling of openness and deeper connection without the risk, place a firm pillow or two under her tailbone and lower back. This reduces the degree of leg flexion you need while still slightly elevating the pelvis. You get a better angle without forcing her body into an extreme position. Keep the movements short, slow, and synchronized with breathing. Add a hand at the front or a gentle touch on the abdomen to maintain sensation where it matters most. Both of these mistake positions show the same error pattern. They prioritize visual impact over functional sensation. They look dramatic, but they ignore the basic principles of comfort, blood flow, and sustained contact. And here's what I want you to take away from this. Passion is not measured by how acrobatic you can be. It's measured by the depth of connection you create without saying a word. After 50, your body deserves respect, not acrobatics. The couples who enjoy intimacy the most at this stage of life are the ones who've learned to read signals, adapt quickly, and replace intensity with synchrony. So at this point, many men ask me, Dr. Lila, does it really all come down to that one area at the front of the pelvis? And here's my answer: not exactly, but understanding this principle changes absolutely everything about your intimate experience. Multiple studies over the last 2 decades, including extensive research from institutions like Indiana University and the Kinsey Institute, consistently confirm this. A small percentage of women can reach climax through internal movement alone, but the majority need or strongly prefer simultaneous external stimulation. And this isn't about what they want in theory, it's about how their nervous systems are wired to respond. From this research, we get a simple, elegant rule that transforms how you approach any intimate encounter. Here it is. Choose positions that maintain constant frontal contact first, and only then think about depth, speed, or rhythm, not the other way around. First contact, then everything else. If you prioritize depth or intensity before establishing that stable contact, pleasure disperses. The brain stops registering sensations as building towards something and starts experiencing them as simple repetition. That's why something that seems like it should feel more intense often creates disconnection instead. Let me give you 3 practical, actionable ways to maintain that constant sensation in any position you choose. First, breathe together for the first 30 seconds. I know this might sound minor or even too simple to matter, but I'm begging you to try it. Synchronized breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system responsible for calm, connection, and relaxation. When you breathe at the same rhythm, the muscles in the pelvic region naturally relax. Blood flow increases without any conscious effort. And here's the key: a calm body feels more and responds better. Those first 30 seconds of synchronized breathing set the entire tone for everything that follows. Second, shorten your range of movement. In study after study, when women describe their most pleasurable intimate experiences, they talk about short movements with constant pressure. Forward. They don't describe long, dramatic thrusts. They describe continuity. The female body doesn't need you to pull all the way out and drive back in. It needs you to stay close, maintaining that forward pressure that keeps blood flow stable and sensation uninterrupted. Think about balancing and rocking, not pushing and withdrawing. When you maintain that frontal contact without breaking it, the sensation never resets. It just builds. Third, use smart support. Pillows are not a concession to age or flexibility limitations. They're clinical tools. A single folded towel placed under the hips can completely change the internal angle, realigning the contact surface so that every movement naturally creates the pressure and stimulation she needs. This is how you achieve more comfort and better results without using more force. In my practice, I see older couples discover that this one simple adjustment makes the difference between effortful intimacy and effortless harmony. These aren't complicated techniques. They're small, intentional adjustments that respect how the body actually works instead of fighting against it. Now let's talk about rhythm, because this is where I see a lot of confusion. The ideal rhythm is neither fast nor slow. It's the rhythm that maintains constant pressure at the front. That's it. That's the only rule that matters. During the first few minutes of any encounter, a steady, almost meditative pace allows the female body to recognize the sensations and imprint them on the nervous system. This is not the time for intensity. This is the time for her body to find its foundation, to relax into the experience, to let blood flow reach where it needs to be. Only when she begins to respond clearly, and you'll know this through her breathing, through subtle movements of her hips, through sounds or words, only then you gradually increase. Depth or speed. Doing it earlier is like trying to build a house on sand. The body hasn't found its foundation yet, and adding intensity just creates instability instead of pleasure. Okay, if this information helped you understand your partner's body better, please share this video. Send it to someone who could benefit, whether that's a close friend, a brother, or even your partner herself. Then come back and leave a comment. I want to know, which of these 5 positions surprised you most? And if you've already tried making these small adjustments, what changed for you and your partner? Your experience might give another man the courage he needs to improve his intimate life. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, and I'll see you in the next video.